Let's talk about the Harris family. To anyone in the idyllic suburb of Maple Creek, Tom and Sarah Harris were the blueprint for a successful life. They believed they had it all, a carefully constructed reality built on years of hard work. Tom, a respected architect, designed buildings meant to last, a principle he applied to his own family. Sarah, a beloved elementary school teacher, was the heart of their community, known for her warmth and optimism. Together, they were a perfect team. Their life looked flawless from the outside, a real-life postcard. They lived in a two-story colonial on a quiet, tree-lined street, complete with a pristine lawn and a classic white picket fence. This wasn't just a house, it was a fortress of normalcy, a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world. Their neighborhood was the kind where kids played until dusk and neighbors gathered for impromptu barbecues. It was safe. It was predictable. They had built a world where every piece fit. Their social calendar was a testament to their strong marriage and wide circle of friends. They had followed every rule for a happy life, believing their careful planning had made them immune to tragedy. They thought they had done everything right, insulating themselves from the kind of darkness that only ever happened to other people, in other towns. But the true centerpiece of their perfect world, their greatest pride, was their daughter, Maya. At 17, she was on the cusp of adulthood, a vibrant reflection of all their hopes. To them, she was the sun, the moon, and the stars. Maya wasn't just smart, she was a straight-A student with a scholarship offer from a top university. She wasn't just beautiful, she had a radiant smile that could light up any room. She was the captain of the soccer team, the daughter every parent dreamed of. She was, in their eyes, flawless. The first signs were small. It started with Maya's mood. She became quiet. She became withdrawn. The girl who used to fill the house with laughter now spent hours locked in her room. When they asked what was wrong, she would just shrug. Sarah tried to talk to her. "Let's talk, sweetie," she would say, but Maya would always refuse. "I'm fine, Mom, just leave me alone." The distance between them grew wider every day. The worry started to eat at them. It was a constant, gnawing feeling. They would whisper their fears to each other in the dark. "Something's not right, Tom." "I know, Sarah, I know." This was more than a phase, this felt dangerous. One evening, while Maya was out, they made a decision. It felt like a betrayal, but they were desperate. They decided to go into her room. They had to look for answers. Their hands trembled as they opened her door. The air in Maya's room was stale, thick with the scent of dust and faint perfume. Sarah's search had grown desperate. Then, beneath a stack of black t-shirts, her fingers brushed against something hard and cold. A small wooden box, surprisingly heavy, secured by a tarnished brass lock. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the suffocating silence. She rattled it gently, but it was locked tight. She didn't have the key, and a part of her, a terrified, whispering part, was almost glad. She brought it to Tom. He saw the look on her face and returned from the garage with a screwdriver. They set the box on the kitchen table, a silent shared hesitation passing between them. With a deep breath, Tom wedged the tip into the seam. The metal screeched, a horrible, grating sound that set Sarah's teeth on edge. With a final, sharp twist and a sickening crack, the lock gave way, the sound echoing in the quiet room. The lid creaked open. A wave of nausea rolled over Sarah. On top lay a piece of yellowed paper covered in strange, unsettling symbols. Beneath it, a typed list of names they had never heard before. And there at the very bottom, nestled in the velvet lining, was a man's worn leather wallet. It wasn't Maya's. The sickness turned to ice in their veins. This wasn't a box of teenage secrets, it was something else entirely, something dark and dangerous. Tom's hands trembled as he flipped the wallet open. The driver's license showed a stranger, a middle-aged man with tired, grim eyes. A name they didn't know. A cold, suffocating dread descended, extinguishing the last flicker of hope. The box provided no answers, only more terrifying questions. That night, driven by a new urgency, they went to the garage. Behind a stack of old tires, hidden under a dusty tarp, they found it. A heavy black duffel bag. Tom unzipped it, their breath caught. It was filled with bundles of cash, but beneath the money his fingers brushed against something hard, wrapped in an oily cloth. He pulled it out, his face pale in the dim light. Slowly he unwrapped it. A gun, a cold, heavy, terrifyingly real handgun. It lay there on the concrete floor, a final, brutal piece of the puzzle. The unraveling was complete, but it was also the beginning of a new nightmare. Maya's secret wasn't just a secret, it was a threat. There's a moment in every parent's life when the world can just stop. For Tom and Sarah, that moment happened in their garage. The silence was deafening. It was filled with the death of every dream they ever had for their daughter. Sarah began to sob. It was a deep, guttural sound of pure agony, a sound a mother makes when her heart is breaking. Tom touched the gun. It was cold. It was real. This was not a nightmare. This was their life now. They faced a terrible crossroads. One path was loyalty, the urge to protect their child at all costs. They could hide the evidence. The other path was justice. The missing man had a family who loved him. What about their pain? What about their justice? After a long, sleepless night filled with tears and torment, they chose the path of truth. With trembling hands, Tom called the police. That phone call was a death sentence for the life they once knew. The flashing lights painted their perfect street in the colors of a nightmare. The conversation with Maya was the most difficult moment of their lives. When confronted with the evidence, she finally broke. The tough facade crumbled, and she became a scared 17-year-old girl again. The whole sordid story came pouring out. The aftermath was a blur of police stations, lawyers, and court dates. Maya was taken into juvenile detention. The house felt empty and silent. Every corner held a memory of the happy family they used to be. The silence in the house had become a physical presence, thick and suffocating. Tom and Sarah moved like ghosts through the wreckage of their life, the polished surfaces and framed photos now mocking them with a vision of a family that never truly was. The air was heavy with unspoken words and years of disappointment. In the midst of the wreckage, something unexpected began to emerge. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation, but a quiet, hesitant start at the kitchen table. For the first time in years, they really talked. Maya, looking smaller than they'd ever seen her, finally broke the silence. She didn't offer excuses. She just looked at them, her eyes filled with a sorrow that mirrored their own, and whispered, "I'm sorry." In those two words, a dam of resentment began to crack. Maya expressed remorse for what she had done, her voice trembling but clear. As she spoke, they saw past the addiction and the anger. In these difficult conversations, they began to see a flicker of the daughter they thought they had lost. Her parents, in turn, admitted their own failures, their blindness to her pain. They knew they couldn't navigate this labyrinth alone, and started attending family therapy. The therapist's office became a sanctuary, a neutral ground where painful truths could be spoken. They were learning to rebuild trust, one painful brick at a time, guided by a professional who helped them unpack years of hurt. Each session was exhausting but also clarifying, a necessary step toward healing. Tom and Sarah had to mourn the perfect family they thought they had. That family was an illusion. In its place, they were slowly building something new, something stronger because it acknowledged its own cracks, something more honest because it was no longer a performance. This new foundation was built on small acts of accountability and forgiveness. Their home was no longer a pristine showroom. It was a place of recovery, filled with the comfortable clutter of a life being actively lived. Laughter, once a foreign sound, began to echo in the hallways again, quieter than before but more genuine. It was not the life they had dreamed of, but it was their life. And for the first time in a long time they felt a small, quiet sense of hope for what was to come. It wasn't a naive optimism, but a hard-won belief in their own resilience, a belief that even after the most devastating storm, new growth is possible.